Hello, good afternoon, folks. This is the Spirited Art Studio, and I'm so happy to be here. My name is Laura Foster. I'm an art therapist and facilitator of this community-based art studio program. We've been live streaming online now on Facebook since March, when everything kind of went in lockdown and we were no longer able to meet in person and have our art studio going in person. I know how many of you are missing that as much as I am, and I really appreciate the feedback that I've been hearing about that. And I'm looking forward to getting the studio open again. But right now, RWUC, the building is in phase 2, so we will not be opening the Spirited Art Studio to the public yet, but I will keep you posted about when that might be happening. In the meantime, this is the last session of our Facebook live stream summer program, and then we are going to be taking a break next week between ending summer programs and beginning fall programs. So the fall startup will be the following week, and during that week we will be having FaceTime live streaming. Also, we will be having Zoom sessions. So if you're interested in taking part in the Zoom community art based studio from the Spirited Art Studio here at RWUC, please look for more information. You can watch on our Spirited Arts Movement Facebook page for more information. And also, we will have information posted on our website, rwuc.org/Spirited Arts Movement. So I invite you to have a look at any of those posted pieces of information regarding our fall art program, and and I will keep you posted. And so what it's going to look like really is just having a continued sort of Facebook live stream, but this part will be it'll be shorter, and it'll just be sort of an introduction to let you know what's going on, what's happening during the Zoom sessions. And I'm going to really encourage people to join in our Zoom sessions. The beauty of these sessions is they're quite user-friendly. You just need to find the link on that will be, more information will be provided on the website. I was going to say the link would be there, but we're asking for registration, so that you must email first, and then we will email you in reply with the Zoom link in the reply to your email. So registration will be required for Zoom, and this is just a precaution not to just have our Zoom link out there. We want to have make sure that only people who are seriously intentional about being a part of the program will be linking on. And But other than that, the program is no cost, no extra cost, and I will keep you posted about art supplies and other things that may be required that are going to be exciting added information. Typically in years gone past, and this is 5 years that the art studio has been going, we have had all the art supplies on site, and so for any directive that I may be facilitating or somebody else may be facilitating, we usually have plenty of art materials and media to supply you with so that you can give these different kinds of ideas a try on your own. So what's going to be different about Zoom is you will need supplies, gather supplies on your own, but I'm going to look at how possibly we can distribute them maybe at our WUC door, or where you can come and pick them up if you need to, like just a package of art supplies. Or I will also just supply you, for example, the first week that we're going to be starting, I'm so excited about this. The first week that we are starting will be the second week here in September. And so on Monday night, before the first Zoom session, I will give a brief intro about what's going to be happening, and I will give a list of supplies that are going to be required for that session. And so that live streaming will be early enough so that you can get things ready and get prepared and get your computer set up and your webcam or your phone or whatever device you'll be using to use the Zoom platform on, and then we will give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. So basically, I think it will be a great way for those of us who have been out of communication for a while. I mean, we've been here on Facebook, which has been great, and I've been giving these ideas to you, and then I've had great feedback in the replies section of the Facebook videos. And so we've had a little bit of communication going on, and that's been good. We haven't completely lost communication. And also there's, of course, our Facebook private group page and email. But I think the Zoom platform will allow us to have actual conversations together. We'll see each other's faces and just be able to express ourselves in a different, more direct way again. And so I'm really excited about moving forward with Zoom. So today I'm just going to start with just a reading from this. It's called The Little Book of Mindfulness. It's by Patricia Collard. She is the author of this book, and I just really find it a great little book about mindfulness. I picked it up at an art therapy conference And I think that that was really perfect place to buy a little book about mindfulness, because mindfulness is so important for just taking a break from all the cognitive functioning we do every day, and just relaxing into some different processes. And art is just a great way to engage in the present moment process and present moment awareness, and just get ourselves out of our cognitive minds and more into our senses. So I really encourage mindfulness and art making as mindfulness all the time in my practice and in different workshops that I've done, and also throughout my live streaming on Facebook. So you may becoming familiar with my talking about mindfulness, but I thought this would be a nice change to just hear a reading about it. So this book is set up really nicely so that each 2 pages is 5 minutes, so you basically taking 5 minutes out of your day and going through this little book. And so this page asks, how are you feeling? Check your breathing. By observing your breath, you can make such a difference in how you feel. Breath is life energy. When we restrict our breathing, we diminish our life energy. Feeling agitated and indecisive is often accompanied by shallow breathing. Try this technique to enhance your breathing. So we're just going to become calm by becoming conscious of our breathing. So deep breathing expands the lungs, which then send a direct message to your heart, which in turn starts beating slower. So take a moment to get closer to your breathing, to befriend it. It is shallow, or is it shallow or deep, slow or fast, smooth or rough, regular or irregular? Do you tend to push it or hold it? If you explore your breathing with this curiosity, you will get a good insight into where you are right now. From this baseline, you can notice any differences. If you continue to watch your breathing, you can experience more energetic self and achieve joy and a zest for life again. So that is a little piece of this mindfulness, little book of mindfulness that I highly recommend taking a look at. So we are going to get more energetic and have some fun with some art making. And so this is basically a continuation of Monday night, where we were doing some botanical sketching and watercolors. And I just will show you this just to give you an idea of what was happening. I also talked about contemporary calligraphy and how we can bring that into our art making. And so I was referencing some photographs that I took of the gardens here at RWUC, and so I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to just add some florals on this second page, and this is a page of my art journaling, and this is about gratitude. And so it says, today I am thankful for, and I'm just going to leave it blank. And so whenever I look at it, I can just think about 3 things that I'm grateful for and just make a conscious effort to contemplate gratitude. So considering gratitude and what you're grateful for is just a really great piece from positive psychology. It's evidence-based practice to just change perspective of things. So when you otherwise might be feeling worried or stressed or anxious, if you can focus your thoughts on things you're grateful for, even just the most simplest things, cold glass of water, something beautiful that you see outside your window, any like simple thing can just kind of just be another way to find calm in an otherwise stressful day. So I'm just taking this time to create this in my art journal, and so I'm going to be doing some more watercolor along with that. But one thing I was thinking about on my way here today was it just got really cloudy, and I thought about that, and I thought about this page I have sitting in front of me that says, today is a beautiful day. And that is the kind of feedback we normally get when we see sunshine. If it's a sunny day, we'll think and we will say to each other, wow, it's a beautiful day. Sometimes on the more overcast, cloudy days, we will not say that. We won't really be thinking that it's such a beautiful day. But I just wanted to think about that and think about how any day can be a beautiful day, and we can just focus on the flowers. We can focus on just the beauty of nature, regardless of the weather. And we can also think about the idea that the sun is shining somewhere on our planet. The sun is always shining, and even if it's cloudy, the sun is shining behind the clouds. So those were just kind of some of the random thoughts I was having about cloudy days and how they can be beautiful anyways. And because of that, I just was doing some exploring with charcoal and creating clouds. And this is again my test sheet. This is my test sheet for watercolors, and so it's also my test sheet for the cloudy day effect that I want to have. So I've been using charcoal, and I was just I was sort of rubbing it on the page and then using tissue to smudge it. And so this is all really just smudging of charcoal to create this kind of cloudy effect. So now I'm going to just give that a try. So on this page where I have today is a beautiful day, I am going to add some clouds and make it a cloudy day. It's going to be a beautiful, overcast, cloudy day on this page. So I'm just having some fun with that. So I'm going to, I found that if I put my charcoal directly on the page, I wasn't able to smudge it as well. So instead of doing that, I'm going to take the charcoal and rub it directly onto the tissue and just create some dark this directly on the tissue, have the charcoal medium, and I'm going to again just give it a little try in the corner of this sample sheet, and now I'm just going to try it directly on this page. I'm just going to smudge it around. And the nice thing about this is if I don't like it, I could always just erase it again, because erasing it won't affect the watercolors, and it won't affect the permanent ink pen that I have on here. So so far I kind of like the effect that this sort of cloudiness is having. And but I also have this kneadable eraser, and these the charcoal and the kneadable eraser are both available at art stores, and sometimes you can even find them at the Dollarama, so just to mention that. But of course, quality costs more, but it's sometimes worth the expense to get the results you want, if it's within your budget. So I'm just swirling around this kneadable eraser just to lift up some of the color. And I'll give you a peek at what's happening. So basically, it's very subtle, can't see it too well, but this is the clouds showing up. And I'm just going to add some more. So that is smudging with charcoal, and so this is now a mixed media. Well, actually it already was mixed media because it has the ink with the contemporary calligraphy, and it has the watercolor, and it has my original sketching with pencil. But now I've added the smudged charcoal to give this sort of cloudy background effect. I'm thinking I'm going to add some maybe some blue pastel chalk as well, just to give it the background a little bit of color, because even on cloudy, overcast days we can sometimes see some of the patches of blue sky. So I think I'm going to add that as well later. But what I'm going to do now is just show different possibilities with adding detail. And so I'm going to look at the pictures that I've just referenced. Just trying to find my photos here. And I thought I had them handy, but they've disappeared on me. Sorry folks, I'm just looking to find my photos that I took of the RWC garden so that I could use them as a reference. And I sent them from my phone, so they're not showing up, but I am going to look at another process. So another thing we can do, instead of looking at photographs, or instead of going outside and studying the botanicals in person, which is not always possible, we can find different kinds of artwork to reference, or we could find photos in magazines, and we can use them as a reference. And so rather than copying per se, we are using the artwork as a reference, because we are not tracing, or we're not trying to do an exact replication, but we are being influenced by another's artwork. And that's similar to what other genres of art and artwork have in common. Artists of all kinds are influenced by other artists. Musicians look to others to be inspired for their work, and so this is it. Hi Pam, good to see you. You saying you are late, but here to stay. Awesome. So we're doing watercolors and fine point Sharpies ink. So we need to have a fine point pen ready, and some watercolors and some watercolor paper if you have it, or you're also welcome to simply see what's happening and observe the art making, and do some of your own artwork perhaps later. So as I was saying, I took some photographs of Robertson Wesley United Church here, the gardens, and I took some great photos of the florals, or the garden is great, it's beautiful, and I took some photos of it. And I was going to use those photos for reference, but right now they're not showing up for me on another device that I had just sent them to. So I'm going to make do without them, and I'm going to use this postcard that I found as a reference. So I'm going to continue with my sunflower and just detailing it. And I'm going to work with some watercolor pencils and some plain watercolors in this palette that I have. Right here. And I'm just going to work at finding some ways to get greater detail into the watercolor. For example, I'm going to look at detailing this sunflower. This was what I painted on Monday evening, and then I just want to show you close up this leaf. I went back into the leaf with some watercolor pencils and just took time to just slowly draw an edge around the leaf, because as I look at the photo, and by the way, the photo is on the Facebook page as well. So as I look at the photo, I see the jagged edges along the edge of the leaf and see how they're formed. And so I work to emanate that in my drawing. And another thing that I noticed is that the veins of the leaf were white. So again, I took a white pen, and this is a white gel pen. These are really fun to use on top of your painting, just to give it detail that can really come to life and bring your leaf to life. So I've got these little veins drawn in over top of the painting. Oh, thank you, Pam. So, I just answered your question. What is the white? So it's this jelly roll. These pens are from Japan. You can find them in different art stores. You can also order them online on Amazon. They are fun to work with. We have them here in the art studio. And if you don't manage to have time or money in your budget right now to purchase these, they're a little pricey, but we do happen to have them in the art studio. So in stage 3 of our launching of our reopening of RWC, by then we will be inviting the public back into the art studio, and you can try these gel pens. So in the meantime, if you can, purchase them. I highly recommend them. They're really fun to use, and I'll sort of demonstrate why I like them. So I'm going to do the same with these vines on this leaf as well, and I'm going to use other pens just to give more detail to the sunflower. But first I'm going to just add some more paint, because as you know, in the center of the sunflower is actually darker and not lighter. So that's what I'm just going to change on the sunflower. I know, Pan, I hope things are going well as you get settled in at university, and we'll miss you here. But in the meantime, if you can fit it in your schedule, you are welcome to register and Zoom in to the Spirited Art program that will be online. We can register and then we will be sent the Zoom link. So maybe you'll be able to participate in that, even if you are a ways away from the city and aren't going to be able to be here in person. So moving back to my art making. I'm just going to try and do a little more smudging. So I noticed somehow got a little bit extra smudges in here, and so I'm just using a Kleenex. So it's just kind of about trial and error and seeing what works on the page for you. And so I was working on the center of the sunflower, and so that's what I'm going to focus on right now. And so I'm going to choose this brown color on my palette, and I'm going to check the color and see if it's a color I like, and it is. So I'm going to apply this color to the center of the sunflower. And that's actually working out really nicely because the grain of the paper is showing up like little seeds. So I really like how that's happening. And I'm going to add a different brown just for some variety of color, just some variation, and some texture to just give the idea, an impression of the sunflower seeds in the center of the sunflower. So I'm just kind of dabbling the paint on, give the idea of seeds. And I think I just about got it. And I'm going to just let that dry, and then once it's dry I'll lift it up and show you how that worked out. So as far as the other two flowers on this page go, I'm going to add a little bit more variation by going in darker, just to add some shadow and some depth. So I'm just going to brush in just some darker strokes around the petals, sort of where I have my pencil lines, because that's where I was noticing the lights and shadows happening originally when I was sketching, so I'm just going over top of those lines with my brush and just giving a darker colors and more emphasis. So that's that flower. And so this, all I did was add some water to the paint color that I had mixed up on this little palette. That is a part of my watercolors, because that was just just sort of a purpley pink color that I didn't have. So in spite of the fact that I have all of these colors in my watercolor palette, I didn't have the sort of pinky lavender color that I wanted to use for this particular flower. Another thing that I just wanted to add is some foliage or some leaves around these flowers. So I'm just taking some green paint that I was using for the stems, and adding that, and again I'll add more layers as one layer of watercolor dries. Then you can glaze over top of it, and the paint that is underneath will remain, and as sort of almost like a stain. The paper is stained, and then you go over top of it with another color, and it just adds to the layers of color. So it can be just a slow process of layering color. So this is just one of the many kinds of methods of using watercolor paint that I'm showing you. So I'm also going to go back down to this flower in this lower right hand corner. And just going to add a little bit more paint to it as well. And in a similar way, I'm just adding extra detail in the shadows. And just adding some little bit of definition to the petals that weren't there before. Sometimes when we're painting, we can go over top of the watercolor, we can go over top of the paint that's already there, or any kind of medium. We keep going with the artwork and we go, oh no, I liked it the way it was before. I don't like it anymore. What happened? Oh no, what do I do? But the thing is just to remain calm and just keep kind of keep working with it until you're happy with it again. So that is the most wise advice you've heard today, I can just imagine. So just having a little bit of fun with that. So just adding stronger and stronger paint. Instead of washing it down with water, I'm applying almost straight paint, and that's just given extra depth and added more form to the leaves. Okay, so I'm just going to lift it up and show you what's happening. Hi, Jane. Good to see you. So you were looking for us earlier and you have found us now. Yay! Good to see you. Sorry you were having troubles finding us, but I'm glad you have now. So thank you both for being here and for commenting. It's great to have connection and feel in community, and that's what our art studio is about. And both of you, Jane and Pan, know what is great about the Spirited Art Studio that we don't have right now. What that we do have when we are in person is just have this community where we are creative and where we also find connection with each other through our creativity and conversation. Can you lift some paint off if it wasn't what you wanted? Yes, that's a great question, Jane. So, for example, if I wanted to lift off some paint where I got a bit too much paint in this sort of poppy in this lower corner, I can just add some water, like just clear water, so I'll swish my brush around in this water, and then I'll just paint the water onto the surface. And so I've dabbed the water on the surface, and then I'm going to just dry my brush a bit. So once the brush tip is dry, I dab the brush onto the wet paint, or the wet area of the painting, and it just lifts the color off. So that is the way to lift the color if you wanted to lift it off the page. So in fact, that's a way to erase watercolor paint from the page. It's and that's fun to do. So one thing that can be just a fun exercise with watercolors is just to do a number of these flowers in all the different kinds of varieties that they come in, like this, for example, on this postcard, and just try painting them and try layering them up and seeing what happens. And that's the same with the charcoal that I put on in the center of the page for this sort of cloudy background, this gray background. I'm also just going to add in some dots, so I'm going to take one of my watercolor pencils. Let's see if I can find a really dark one. And so what's really nice about the watercolor pencils is that they can just provide nice, precise detail in your painting. That can be a little bit otherwise difficult with the brush only. So I'll just give you an example of that. I'm just going to add some dots on my center of this flower where the there are just on the tips of these yellow centers, there's just these darker spots. So I'm just going to add those in. And because I'm only putting them, although like these dots are in the full center of the flower, I'm only putting them along one edge of my drawing, just because that kind of shows the difference and gives some difference between light and shadow. So that, just to show you that right here I have just the dots and that detail showing up only on the edge, just to give a sense of volume and depth in that center of that flower. And so the last thing I'm going to do with that flower is just add a little bit of line detail. So if you notice, when you look at the petals, you can you see veins similarly to when you're looking at the foliage or you're looking at leaves, and you see veins in the leaves. If you look closely at the petals in the flower, you will also see some. And I'm sure you are familiar with that. If you, we all enjoy looking at flowers. So I'm just adding a little bit of detail, and I'm also emphasizing some of the edges a little bit with the pencil as well. And this gives a little bit of extra detail. So that is that flower with a little bit more detail with a watercolor pencil. And so now I'm going to add a little bit more detail to these. Actually, I think I'm going to take my watercolor brush. Oop, that's not my watercolor brush. So this is a good teachable moment. This is not a watercolor brush. This is real bristly brush, and it is better for acrylic painting. I have lots of acrylic paints on my table right now and acrylic brushes. But this is my watercolor brush, and what is great about watercolor brushes is they're just nice and soft, and so they take up the water and hold the water really well. So I'm just going to add a little bit of layering of some green in the leaves of these flowers. Just again to just add a little bit more variety in the color. I really like this this green. I'm just going to add a little bit of it. So there. I'm really happy with those leaves because they have some definition just through the variety of colors. Okay, and while I let those leaves dry, I'm going to go back to this leaf, and these, well, I should say leaves and the stem of this flower, and just add a little more definition with the watercolor pencil. So just along the one side of the stem, I'm just adding a dark line just to give it a little more this adds to the three-dimensional appearance of the stem. So I've got this dark line along the one side, and I'm going to do that similar thing on the this little stem. A little bit of shadow underneath the leaf, and over here on this leaf, and I'm going to also add some little jaggedy edges along the leaf that give it this sunflower leaf look. And I'm going to also use this gel. White gel pen, just to put some leaves on top. I mean, sorry, veins on top of the leaf. There. So that's the leaves and the stem on the sunflower, and I'm just going to add some, just to finish the sunflower, I'm going to add some detail to the petals. So I've got these different watercolor pencils. And I think I'm going to just use a really light orange color, because the yellow watercolor pencils weren't showing up the way I wanted them to. So if I can just find the orange I'm looking for, this one will do. I'm going to use orange just to add some detail. and I'm not really totally crazy about that orange. So I'm thinking a little bit more of a cinnamon color would be better. So I'm just going to look for the sort of a reddish brown color here. Looks like it'll be better. And so really what I'm going to do is just go over top of some of my lines that I had originally sketched with my pencil, and sketch over top with this watercolor pencil. Oh. There, I'm just feeling happier about it. It just seems to be a better color in terms of showing some definition and some light and shadow and form and structure of the petals and the flower. Okay, one thing that's interesting with this charcoaly background is that I don't have to worry about smudging it. It's because that's just improving the look of the smudgy clouds. So that is the detail that I've added to the sunflower, and just to give it a little bit of more texture and more emphasis on the detail of the petals. So that kind of finishes off this page, except I will probably add a little bit of blue chalk to the page. In fact, I think I'm going to look for the chalk right now. So these are my pastel chalks. So they have a real chalky texture. They are different than oil pastels, which have obviously a more oily texture. So I'm going to just take the sky blue color piece of chalk, and I'm just going to add it in and lightly add it into different spots on the page, just to add to the background so it's not completely gray blue. It's not completely gray, it's going to be a gray blue color. So I've added in some chalk, and now I'm going to take this tissue and smudge it, similar to the way I smudged the charcoal. And this is a nice way to fill in a background, because you can smudge it and get close to the subject matter in a fairly easy and controlled way, and it's not going to affect the painting. So I'm just continuing to add a little bit more blue here and there, and slowly deciding how much I will add. Had a little bit too much charcoal on that end of the tissue, so I'm switching up. there. So that is this page is finished. And this page I'm just getting started. So this again shows the calligraphy. So it's really just basic cursive writing, and then just adding the ink, extra ink, sort of doubling up on the thickness of the downstrokes of each letter. And so some of these you can see are just the straight, thin, fine point pen, because I haven't finished this part yet. On this side, I've completely finished the calligraphy, so you can see the thicker downstrokes. And I'm going to photograph this page so you can see it frontwards and not backwards, so you have a good idea, better idea of what it looks like. And so, and you can see here where I've just sketched in the florals. So that's the way I had originally sketched in the florals on this side of the page. So I'm going to finish with watercolors, similarly to what I've done here. I'm going to add layers of color, and I'm going to add the watercolor pencil and the gel pen, and then I will bring this page up to completion similarly to this one. And so I'm looking forward to having both pages done. And I'll post this one right away, and I will post this one when I am completed. So this says today is a beautiful day, and I'm hoping that it will just inspire me on days that maybe it doesn't feel like a beautiful day, and just remember the beauty of the florals in the gardens, and just remember that, yeah, any day can be a beautiful day. And then when I'm finished this page, I will just reflect on this page from time to time as well, and reflect on just what I am thankful for. And so today I've just been reflecting on the fact that I'm really grateful for art and creativity, and just the way it just can help us to just shift our focus, shift our thinking, find new perspective, and take time out to enjoy time in our day simply by being creative and making art. Something I think I will always be grateful for and always passionate about. So thank you for joining me for a little time today, and have a great day and a great week next week. I hope the weather will be nice, and nice enough to get outside maybe and take a sketchbook with you and do some drawing and painting or photography, and enjoy these warmer days of fall before the weather gets colder. I need to enjoy these days, and take time to just be curious about nature and enjoy it, and have fun. So thanks again, and bye for now.